Hey guys, what's good? It's King JaDee. Welcome back to the party. And today I have a special type of video. I'm switching things up today. We're doing a classic tier list with one of my favorite mobile games of all times, Clash of Clans. If you never played this game, I highly suggest you check it out because you might have seen all the memes and stuff. But overall, though, after all these years, I've had it for 8 years now. I have to say it's a classic. I'm not gonna lie to you, and I think it's a really fun game. But I've always wanted to rate some of these characters because some people think some of these characters are OP and they're really trash. So I have to prove them wrong. So without further ado, let's get right into this video. All right, I'm gonna break down the categories real quick. So we have on the very top triple S, then we have SS, following with S, A, B, C, D, E, don't use, and useless. So let's go ahead and start. First troop here appears to be the Rage Barbarian. Now, I would say that I'll give it a D tier simply because you can make it work, but if you already have better troops such as golems, giants, and wizards, essentially troops that can either tank or do more damage, you don't really need that. Next we got archers here. I'll put it as D because at least archers are range, so certain weapons will not be able to touch them. So that I guess that makes them equal to rage barbarians, but still they're not really that good. You can easily use wizards and other troops. Next here we have the Archer Queen. Let's go ahead and put her up to S tier. One of the best heroes in the game. I will say that realistically, some might say Archer Queens are better than Barbarian King, but I'm gonna let you know my opinion on that. However, her ability as well when she temporarily becomes invisible, as well as spawning a wave of archers, makes her very useful to clear out certain sections of a base. Following that, it appears we have baby dragons twice. I don't know if they have any other special troops, but for the sake of this, we're going to put them as S tier regardless, simply because they're only really effective if they're by themselves. Otherwise, they're kind of useless when they're together, but they can still pack a punch, and they're definitely better than barbarians and archers. Following that, we have the Barbarian King. Now, as I will gladly admit, he is also equal as an S tier character, simply because the Barbarian King does have more health, but at the same time, you do lack the range, obviously, as he's a melee based character, and he does spawn the same wave of barbarians as opposed to the Archer Queen who spawns archers. So you still have something to work with, but at least he has more health. So actually, as a matter of fact, he should be SS. My apologies. Following that is the regular barbarian. I'm gonna put him as E tier, honestly, with you, because simply because it's just a basic troop. I mean, it doesn't really take that much damage to destroy them. They're not really that OP to use, and they're not useless, but they're not that good. Following that appears to be, I believe, super minions or something like that. Yeah, we don't use that, and even if we do, I wouldn't use that. Next here we have the bowler. I'm gonna put that as A tier simply because of the ricochet it does, providing additional damages to bases behind the initial attack on certain weapons or buildings. It's essentially like a ground electro dragon, but obviously we'll get to what an electro dragon is. Basically, this is like a ground electro dragon, so that is very good to use on bases and such. Following here we have I don't know the exact name for this, but this is the builder base giant. I'll put this as C tier simply because they do pack more of a punch and they still have the similar health to a regular giant. So it is better than nothing, but personally I don't really use them that often, if at all, simply because I can just use other troops to provide support. Following that, we have I don't know the exact name for this one, but I believe it's like a moving cart or something like that, the cannon cart. I'm gonna put this as B tier simply because of its firepower as well as mobility. However, it does have low health, so there is a risk to that. But if you're doing the builder attacks, you can simply have them in the back behind it, and you have like troops in the front, right, and then you have the cannon cart behind it, and that provides additional support. Think of it as like artillery, basically. Following that, we have I think this is the bat spell. I don't use that. I really don't have any use for that. We have the earthquake spell here. I'm going to put this as B tier simply because this basically works if you have a land army and you have enough of them. Otherwise, it's kind of trash and it doesn't really do that much damage. But if you build upon earthquakes, then it's very effective depending on how you use it. So essentially, make sure you have a land army and have consecutive ones going at the same spot, and you'll pack a punch and clear up walls as well, might I add. Following that, we have the haste spell. I'm gonna put this as A tier simply because of the speed, especially when your troops are low and you're really trying to go in for a quick attack. This will definitely save you in scenarios, since I had that happen to me before. Very good, works for both ground and air. However, it is somewhat smaller compared to other spells, so you are taking a risk there, but you can make it work. Following that, we have poison spells. I'm going to give this a B tier simply because depending on the troop, for example, if it's like an Electro Dragon, I mean, it's going to do something. It does, I believe, slightly slow down troops as well, but I mean, overall, it's not that effective. And you can just have a bunch of troops attack just a few of the enemy troops. It only works especially in lower town hall. So if you are a lower town hall, this definitely works. But overall, if you're not a lower town hall, then it's not going to be best suited for you. Following that is the skeleton spell. I don't use that, and even if I did, it might almost be. It's not useless because at least does something, but it might as well. Either useless or E tier. Yeah, I just want to suggest you use that. There's definitely better spells you can invest in. Following that, though, is the regular dragon. I'm going to go ahead and put that as B tier simply because if you not are a Town Hall 11, this is one of the best air troops in the entire game, to my knowledge. I'm not even going to lie to you. Some might argue otherwise, but before Electro Dragon, personally, this is like the second best troop in the entire game that you can use. It almost does the job as an Electro Dragon, but it can't attack consecutively, and it's kind of limited to one weapon per or building rather per attack. So you have to work with that. But I believe these do have a lower housing space, so you can work with that to your advantage. Following that is, I think these aren't super balloons, but these are the builder balloons. I don't really use those; those aren't good. Now we have the Electro Dragon. I'm gonna go ahead and put that on SSS tier triple S. That's right, you, sir, or it, or whatever you want to call it. You have to be one of the best troops in the game. Electro drag spam, as many people call it, because at that point, because that's all you have to do. You essentially all you need is an electro dragon, and like you can have like some troops. Like my strategy, I would use electro dragons, and then I would have some balloons in the front, along with a siege balloon, which we'll hopefully get to soon. Yeah, we'll get to that soon. Wait, no, they don't have it in this tier list.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
But get a siege machine, have some balloons, and have these behind, and wow, you can claim bases easily. All you have to do is make sure there's no air defense and get rid of any inferno towers, and you basically can curb stomp any base. One of the best troops in the entire game. I mean, it is mighty beautiful. I mean, it does work. It does wonders. So that is a very good troop. Highly recommend you start using that when you get to Town Hall 11. Make sure you also invest in upgrading the Barak so you'll be able to have lower training times so you'll be able to spam them out more quicker because they are really effective. Following that is regular giants. I'm going to be real with you. That might as well go into D tier. Simply because these are better for lower town halls, but once you get to golems, I mean, you really don't need giants anymore. They're essentially they move quicker, and I think they do slightly more damage than a golem. But I mean, other than that, they're not really that good. They're basically a good alternative if you're low on dark elixir, but due to the update where you don't even need to use elixir anymore to make troops, you make them essentially useless. Following here is goblins. I automatically, as soon as I was waiting for goblins, these are useless. These are one of the worst troops in the entire game. I don't care what you are. If you are a farmer, these are trash.
Not ridiculous. That's not ridiculous to say that.
These are they are little. They're essentially one time. They're literally worse than barbarians and archers. How is that even? They're worse than a skeleton. I'm gonna grab the skeleton real quick and put that as an E tier. I'd rather have skeletons than goblins. These are actual trash.
What?
Come on, man.
They're actually trash. Bro, back in the day, people used to troll these. You'd be like, I need like they'd be like, I need like some wizards and like a pecker or something. And they'll give you goblins as a troll. They're that trash. No one trolls the barbarians or archers. They're that decent compared to goblins. Utter trash. Only good therefore is for farming and to attack those resources. But other than that, they're trash. They're useless. Even their super is useless. Utter trash. Following that, we have the Golemites. I believe I'll give them D tier. I mean, I don't really have to say much because we're going to put the Golem up to A tier. Golemites, real quick, essentially, they're just soak up more damage, but they have less health. And, there's nothing much really to be said about that. However, the Golem is A tier simply because this is the better giant. This is the better troop. Will always be the better troop compared to giants. Simply, you just need two or three of them to tank all the damage, and they'll do wonders for you. As long as you have support characters behind them, you can clean up a base, and they'll move on. They're really good. Following that is the Grand Warden. I will give this higher than an Archer Queen, I have to say, simply because of the invisibility ability that they do have, granting you temporary, like, just like protection against weapons and any like bombs or traps. They do give you slightly higher health, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But overall, I mean, he's really only good for the ability, which I mean, I would take any others on. And the troops can still attack, might I add, compared to an invincibility spell. So I would take Warden over an Archer Queen. Following that, we have healers. I will put healers as B tier simply for Queen Walk, as well as be able to heal troops. Other than that, I mean, you can use a healing spell if you have the space for it, but I mean, it's really up to you. It's all about placement with the healer, and you can make it work. Just play your cards right, and you'll be just fine. Now we have Hog Rider!
Is this nigga serious?
And Hog Rider's gonna go to B tier simply because he can't jump over walls, and a mass of them can pack a punch. They're like the land version of dragons. Simply spam them just enough and just watch them clear through all the defenses. You just have to be wary that, especially on lower levels, that they can die relatively quickly. So if you don't attack quick enough or they're not strong enough, you might be in some serious trouble if this is the main component of your army. So be advised. Following that, we have the Ice Golem. Not gonna lie, I actually unlocked the Ice Golem, but I don't really have a reason to use him since I used an air attack. However, if I did use them, I would probably put them up to A tier because I think they also freeze objects and like buildings and weapons. So I mean, it might as well be an S tier. But yeah, I would highly suggest when you get to Town 11, you try them out. Following that though are Lava Hounds. I will put them to A tier simply because they're the air version of goblins, and lava hounds are basically the air version of golems, right? And so it's the same thing as the golemites. It's literally the air version of a golem. So I'll take that if you need to take damage, and you just work with what you got. And we'll just put the same thing for the lava puppies. Basically the same thing as what I said as the golemites. Following that is the miner. Now for the miner, I'll put him as B tier simply because they can go underground. But I mean, they're literally like the underground version of hog riders. I mean, you work with what you got. So if you have a bunch of them, yeah, they can attack quick and then go back underground and not take damage. So there is that. That might as well make them A tier actually, because that at least they can prevent themselves from taking some damage for a certain amount of time compared to hog riders. So Take that as you will, but that's just my personal opinion. Following that, we have minions. E tier. I think we have bats. That's E tier. These are basically like the same thing. Basically, these are like the archers of the air, except for they do less damage, and you're just wasting. Or back in the day, you would have wasted your dark elixir on that. So I highly suggest otherwise. Following that, I believe these are super witches. I have not used these, but I mean, if I would, well, we'll just do the witch one now, actually. I'm gonna have to put her up to A tier simply because the skeletons basically act as a barrier. And if you have a bunch of them, you can make them work. And they're like wizards, but I believe they do slightly less damage. But with the skeletons, it almost equals it out, if not makes them slightly better in certain scenarios. So, as I said, you can work with that. Basically, have these as support behind your main troops that you have in the front lines. Work with what you got. Following that, we have P.E.K.K.A. P.E.K.K.A is S tier character for the amount of damage it can take and do. I mean, it makes it one of, if not the most superior land troops in the entire game. I would highly suggest you invest in P.E.K.K.As if you're doing certain layouts. I don't remember the exact name for this layout, but I believe it's like Golem, P.E.K.K.A, and Wizards. I used to do that one all the time. That's extremely effective. I mean, you can just work your way with the Golem and the P.E.K.K.A, and you can just do insane amount of damage and take a lot while your wizards clamp from behind. Extremely good troop, would recommend. Following that, we have balloons. Now, this is something I currently do use. I will put them as A tier simply because they don't tank damage, but you can kind of use them as cannon fodder, almost literally. And they still pack a punch when they're together, though, so that's something you have to worry about. But you can use this as cannon fodder and let your main army behind those troops do all the real damage. And they still pack a punch when they do uh, actually hit their target. So, I would recommend you mix that up with either dragons, whether they're dragons, or if you have electro dragons, I would consider using that. Very good. Following that, we have wall breakers. I will put that as an S tier simply because of how essential wall breakers are. If you don't know this already and you're not high enough apparently yet, when you're playing Clash of Clans and you have a land army, these are essential in winning any battle possible. They break down the walls so you'll be able to clean through and funnel. And without these troops, your land attack would be trash and you would lose a lot of your battles and opportunities that you're able to use to grow. These are essential if you're using land armies. Essential. Following that is the lightning spell. Wait, no. This is the invisibility spell, actually. My bad, I'm tripping. So this is the invisibility spell. I put it as B tier. It'll do something if you place it right, but it hides your troops. I don't believe your troops can actually attack when they're in the invisibility spell, so there is that risk. But I mean, it is better than nothing. Following that, we have the frost spell. I would put that as A tier simply because it freezes your targets for a certain amount of time, and that is better than nothing because you do in certain scenarios you're gonna need those enemies to be frozen in place so you'll be able to clean them out relatively easy. Following that, we have the healing spell. I'm going to also put that in A tier simply because of how effective certain placements are, which can save your entire attack if you do it right. Following that, we have the jump spell. I'll put that as B. However, if you're using an air army, this is essentially useless, and depending on your land army, you have to hope the AI is smart enough to go through them. But overall, they can be effective as a good replacement for wall breakers if you don't want to use them for some reason. Following that is lightning spell. I'm putting that up as S, actually SS tier. I take that back. Lightning spells are SS tier simply because they're essential for any air raiding army. Without a lightning spell, your air attack will most likely fail, depending on how high a town hall you are. If you're below a town hall, you may not need that many or even any at all. But once I would say maybe you're like town hall 7 to 8 and up, you're going to need to use lightning spells consistently because without them, you will not be winning any of your air attacks. Or if you do, you're at least going to get maybe a 1 star if you're lucky to, but you're not going to get a 3. Following that is raid spell. I'm going to go ahead and put that as S tier simply because of how effective it has been, especially in air and land, especially land. These are essential if you're trying to get more damage out of your troops in a certain area, especially if you're trying to clean out one last section before they all die off. This will potentially save you just in time. It's all about placement. Very good. The reason I did put it below lightning spell simply because that the lightning spell especially is more particular to air attacks, but it's extremely effective for them. However, this is for both, and if you can clear the air defenses and you are a air attacker, then the lightning spell will be better for you compared to rage. Following that, we have I believe these are the building archers. I'm just going to put it as C tier actions simply because they actually do turn invincible for a brief moment of time, so they're kind of useful, but other than that, they're the same as archers. They don't do much damage. These are, I believe, Electro Pekkas. I've never used this before, but I would assume there would not, if not, actually be higher or at least S tier, because I mean, it's Electro Pekka. Following that note are Valkyries. I will put them as A tier simply because Valkyries do pack a punch, and when together, they do insane damage, especially in a certain perimeter. They'd be able to clean out multiple buildings just right next to each other, and they're grouped together, making them highly effective in groups, as well as be able to clean out certain sections that you wish to clean out. Following that are wizards. I will put them as S tier simply because they are one of the best ranged troops, especially land troops in the entire game. They can simply clean out any base with relative ease as long as you place them right, especially if you have tanks up front soaking up all the damage while they clean behind them. So it's all about placement here, and especially if you upgrade them high enough, not only do they look cool, but when you upgrade them, they do more damage and they have more health, making them more and more essential. Following that, we have the Builder Hero. I believe that's his name. Builder Hero. I'll put that as S tier if you're doing builder raids and attacks. These guys are essential for winning any of those attacks. Without them, you're probably not winning if you're not at that town hall yet. This makes everything so much easier, especially his ability where it becomes stronger with just a few attacks from the electricity hitting the hammer. Extremely powerful. Would recommend you invest in that once you get them for your building hall. Following that, we have what looks to be more regular skeletons. I'm just gonna put that as yes, the same thing. I'm just gonna put that as E tier. We already said that. And then following that, we have I don't remember what these were, but these are like the range wall breakers. I'll put them as B tier simply because they can clean out walls and do damage. Actually, no. I'll put them as S tier because they can clean out walls, but they're still like wall breakers. They're still kind of weak and trash. So I wouldn't recommend them. I would just simply use archers instead because you can just use other methods to just get into the base with relative ease because builder hall, it doesn't really matter. Builder base doesn't really matter at all. But yeah, that is it. And this is the tier list. I believe the worst unit in the entire game is goblins, completely trash. Definitely do not use unless you are farming it. Even then, it's a risk because, especially if their weapons nearby, they can clean them out. And obviously, the best trip in the entire game are Electro Dragons, especially Electro Spam. I believe that if you use them right, they are extremely effective, even better than certain heroes. And I mean, there's nothing more else to say. They're just one of the best troops in the game as long as you use them right and just let them do all the carnage. Let them wreck and destroy bases with relative ease. I also know that some of the other troops aren't in this tier list, and I'm not sure what else I'm missing, but I'm guessing these are probably for Town Hall 12 and higher that are on the list. So work with that as you will. But yeah, these were my personal opinions on what I believe is the tier list for Classic Clans troops. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Let me know if I got it right or wrong. And yeah, that's what I gotta say. So the party might be ending, but we're just getting started over here. So until next time, I hope you all have a good one, and King JaDee's out.